Let me ask you a question about that, because I had several texts I was just trying to find there overnight where people with similar sort of thing they were coming out with. Do you get fed up of being seen as a racist party?
We are not a racist
within
party.
certain parts of the media.
Well, certain parts of the media have tried to put that upon us. They called us the BNP Emblazers and goodness knows what else. We've got 69 candidates standing in these European elections. That's the full list for England, Scotland and Wales. Of those 69, 5 of them are black and Asian, born in the Commonwealth, immigrants to Britain, who are now standing for UKIP. In fact, one of them said to me the other day, he said, Nigel, of course, I'm more British than you. I said, how do you work that out? He said, well, you were born here. I actually chose to come and live in Britain and become British, and we're very proud of that.
We're talking to Nigel Farage. It's Sun Talk. This is the home of free speech. If you've got a question for him, he's the leader of UKIP. 020 33 64 7000. All right, Gaunt, you love the show. I'm listening in Beijing. I live and work here. A big question for Nigel Farage is this. How is the UK going to compete with China by itself in the future? I used to be a strong Eurosceptic, but living here has made me feel more European. China will be top of the pops inside the next 20 years, stronger than even the States. India is also rising, like Brazil. Do you see a pattern here, Nigel and Gaunty? These are what are by some considered third world nations. The US sees value in working with Canada and Mexico. Why can't you see value in having stronger links with Europe, Nigel? For example, the Germans are treated like kings here in China, as are other Europeans. Take your head out of the sand,
well,
Mr. Farage, and that's from CJ in Beijing, listening on the internet.
CJ, let me tell you this. The one thing you can guarantee if Britain stays part of a European Union is because of the EU social model, we will, in terms of competitiveness, fall further and further behind the rest of the world. So number one is we need to be outside of this European social model so that we can be cost competitive with our industries. And number two, and even more important, is being part of a European Union forbids Britain from making her own trade deals. And we've got fantastic connections all over the world, not just with China, but through the Commonwealth and through the English-speaking world, and we're not allowed, we're banned from having our own trade deals with them. So our vision is that Europe is too small, it's too backward-looking, and we want Britain to be a global trading nation.
So trade with Europe, but not be part of Europe.
Let's trade with them, John. Let's be friendly with them. Let's attempt to be good next-door neighbours, although with the French that may be a little tricky from time to time. But, you know, let's do what normal countries do. Let's agree on things, but let's not have them making our laws.
Let's talk about the Gurkhas. Where do you stand on the Gurkhas? And John in Hereford, I'm coming to you next on this.
I'm actually furious about it. I'm not just furious about the way the Gurkhas have been treated. And incidentally, isn't Joanna Lumley just fantastic in every regard?
Well, Joanna could come on and say anything she fancies.
I mean, she's just terrific. Yeah. But I tell you what makes me angry. In the Sun the other day, there was a statement by Pun, the VC that you've met.
Yeah, Mr. Pun, yeah.
When he said, how can it be that we've got an open door to Romanian rapists, but my mates who serve this country can't stay? And next to it was an article by David Cameron where he was standing up for the Gurkhas. What Cameron won't say, what Clegg won't say, what none of them will say, is they all enthusiastically supported opening the door to the whole of Bulgaria, Romania, the whole of Eastern Europe, and that is why Romanian rapists and Bulgarian criminal gangs are allowed to come to Britain. So let's get up.
Also, by the same token, freedom of movement to work has been a good thing, hasn't it?
No, it has not been.
We can work in other countries, no?
We could work in other countries for hundreds of years, John. This is nonsense. What we've done is we've opened up our doors to foreign workers, to foreign criminals, to Uncle Tom Cobley and all who can come into this country. We have had 3 million migrants coming into Britain since 1997.
So what would you do on immigration then if you were in country?
Well, the first thing is, if you want to come to Britain, if you want to come to live in Britain, to work in Britain, to settle in Britain, that decision should be taken by the British people and the British Parliament and not by European governments. Last week, the Romanian president gave 1 million passports to people from Moldova. The average salary of over 50% of them is less than £1 a day.
So where are they going to come
And those 1 million people can come and live in Britain because the Romanian president decides that. And that, John, is what the European elections are all about.
OK, let's go to John in Hereford talking about the Gurkhas. What's your views? You just heard Nigel's.
OK, I mean, pretty much very strong views. Again, as you just said, speaking from Hereford, which is a bit of a specialist garrison town, I guess you could say, and having 2 sons who serve in the British Army, I just want to say that the way the Gurkhas have been served and dealt with is nothing short of just disgraceful and distasteful. It's beyond belief. OK, the politicians are going to now sing up their party views and put a positive spin on all of this. But come on, where are these guys really? Let some positive, straightforward support come out in the press. You know, just some straightforward talking that ordinary English people can understand. Now, my point is, again, you know, these guys, they served and they died for all of us, you know, our good name and our way of life. How can an economy be you know, our economy and the world economies be trashed by nothing more than big kids with bigger egos and now even bigger bank balances and pensions? What have they given us? They've given us nothing worth talking about, seemingly living it up, while these poor old guys are being treated like dirt by every single one of us, the British public.
John, I love your passion. Thank you very much indeed. Can I just send a message through to the production team, please? Paul, if you're listening in Liverpool, Paul, just hold on there. But Sam, can you speak to him and say, we'll ring him back. He wants to talk about football. I think he should do that when Ian McGarry's here. And Keith, another little rule we have on a Gaunty phone-in, we don't allow people on twice on the same day. It just isn't fair. It isn't fair. They do that on radio stations where they can't get people to get involved. But Keith, in Alicante in Spain, you've been on once today. Don't be so greedy. And I hope you're learning to speak Spanish. Please, John, hi, John, please could you ask, if possible, Mr. Farage about his feelings towards the royal family? Is he a royalist, or would he see them abolished? That's from Matt.
I'm a royalist, and I'll tell you for why. If we got rid of the royal family and replaced it with a president of this country, we'd finished up with some clapped-out, run-down politician like Neil Kinnock in charge. So I prefer the Queen to someone like Neil Kinnock.
OK, dear Gaunty, can Nigel confirm or qualify the fact that we actually pay more to the European Union daily than we pay to actually run the UK? We'd like to know the answer. Regards, Ruth and Paul.
We don't pay more in terms of a contribution than it costs to run the UK, but we are paying far too much. We're paying £40 million a day of your money is being paid across. Incidentally, that figure is set to rise by 60% over the next 5 years because of the deal that Tony Blair did, where Chirac stuffed him in the negotiations. But the contribution is but a fraction of the overall cost. And we're back to our friend from China. The regulatory burden and cost on this country, plus the contribution, adds up to about 8% of this country's gross domestic product. So by coming out of European Union, by deregulating British industry, we'd be far better off.
If you've got a view and you want to talk to Nigel Farage, he's the leader of UKIP, pick up the phone and give us a call, 020 33 64 7000. Maybe you're listening at the moment in Europe and you've got a view on it. I'd love to get that. You can text me on 87131, cost you 50p plus your normal sending charge, or you can email gaunty@suntalk.co.uk.
You never know who's listening to the home of free speech.
And we get a big email response to Nigel Farage. Hi, I used to think the European Union wanted to construct a United States of Europe, Nigel. Now I've been told that a supranational state in Europe will mean the end of all the countries in Europe, and that it will become a Europe of regions. I've heard about the unelected regional assemblies, and this suggests that's the way it's going to go. Is this what you understand by a supranational state, Nigel Farage, and can we stop it? That's from Shane Badham.
Well, you know, the whole object of the European Union is to destroy the nation state, and one of their ways of doing it...
Well, is it really?
Oh, totally, because the analysis, John, in Brussels, is that it's nation states that are bad, it's the existence of nation states that cause wars, whereas I think it's the breakdown of democracy that causes wars. So you've got to get rid of the nation state, and you do that by giving them one currency, by giving them one flag, one anthem, one army, one foreign policy. In fact, all the same things they did with Yugoslavia.
We might be better off with the euro at the moment.
Well, certainly not, and thank goodness we kept the pound, the one great victory, and because we've got the pound has been able to fall a bit on the world exchanges. Now, it does mean, if you take your kids to Disneyland in Paris, it's going to be a bit more expensive.
It certainly is.
But it's giving British business an opportunity to export our way out of this mess.
I'm a paid-up Conservative member, Gaunty, but I'm fed up with Cameron's flip-flop stance on Europe. Nigel and his party now have my vote come June. I want to send a strong message to Brown that I want out. I mean, surely, and that's from Josh, isn't the fact that the victor in June is either going to be apathy or it's going to be a kick in the you-know-whats to Brown? It's going to be a protest, isn't it?
Well,
it's not going to be about your party.
Well, hang on a second. There's plenty to protest about, isn't there, for goodness sake? We've got an opposition party who are sitting on the fence and not telling us where they stand. We've got a Labour and Lib Dem party who lied to us in their manifestos in 2005 by not giving us a referendum. There's a lot to protest about, and if people like Josh are going to lend their votes to UKIP in this election, it sends a message to Cameron that he ought to start taking this issue seriously. And I predict that if UKIP beat Labour in these elections, it will bring down Gordon Brown. And that's a pretty good incentive to go and vote UKIP. To find out more about who we are and what we stand for, go to the UK Independence Party website at www.ukip.org.